What's up, my friends out there in YouTube land? Rockin' Dave from Tada, friends. Repeat that statement again. Rockin' Dave from North Fort Myers, Southwest Florida, my friends. And thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you guys checking out the show last night from the restaurant where I play at. Again, what happened was I ran out of space on my phone and just figured out, I got some creative ideas. Boom, let's go live. So I really appreciate everyone's input out there. Jason Wade, how you doing, my friends? Adam EVH, what's going on, brother? You totally rock, man. And yeah, I have to agree with you, Adam. You sent me a recording of Rush. I believe it was La Villa Strangiato, a portion of it. I realized what a great guitar player Alex Lifeson really is, and especially that time, going through all the different, the courses of their musical creativity, That's one of the songs we used to play back, and I was in this band called Exit, and it was back in 1982, yeah, back in 1982, and the inspiration came off of, the name of the band came off of the inspiration. Mr. Zach Thon, how you doing, buddy? Off of the album Exit Stage Left, which we had no intention for it to be like a Rush tribute band. Yeah, back then I don't remember seeing any tribute bands. The first time I heard of anything being a tribute is living back in Chicago on the Loop FM 98, when it was FM 98 before it was 97.9, 97.9. After John Bonham died, Led Zeppelin, and Heart, there was a concert broadcast on the Loop, and they did their tribute to Zeppelin. And I think they only did the one song, and I think it was Rock and Roll. And boy, did they kick ass at it. Yeah, it was awesome. And then later on, in the 2000s, when we saw Heart at one of the festivals, they did a few Zeppelin songs, and wow, it sounded great. So that's really the first time I saw the word tribute. But getting back to the band Exit, our drummer was influenced by Neil Peart, and he took drum lessons from a friend of mine that I went to high school with. That was a drummer, a jazz fusion drummer, but more on the progressive rock jazz fusion side. His name was Mark Abernathy, great drummer. Mark Abernathy had a band called Easy Street, and it was really cool. It was great. He was a great drummer. He had a great band, and our bass player, he had the Taurus pedals, and we had a keyboard player, and then the volume swells. I had the Morley wah volume, so you could do the. The wah part on that Morley, it was kind of iffy, but the volume pedal worked great. And then I had a Electro Harmonix Electric Mistress. Now I can't remember if I bought it from my friend or if it was the keyboard players and he loaned it to me, but it had a really cool flanging type of effect. So Alex Lifeson is a great guitarist, and Mr. Jim Geetrid. I listened to that track. If you're out there listening, would you send me? That was awesome. I got one question for you. The organ sound, did you get that off of your pod? You got the Line 6 Pod HDX 500. And I do know I saw Ola Engel doing like a little demo on this. And it's an older video of Ola doing this demo. But it's the exact same Line 6 pedal that you have. And I noticed there's certain like synth sounds in there, So be interesting to see if that's how you got that organ sound. I do have organ sounds in my Roland guitar synth with the synth. When you saw the video of me playing on my steel string acoustic, and that was kind of promoting DB Guitar Jams, which we're gonna be launching pretty soon here. That's gonna really help people not just be a better guitar player and learn how to play, but kind of help you guys bust through the smoke screens of confusion and how you could just start writing your own music, and so that you can get your music out there and record your own CDs and just sell them to the public. That's basically what we did. We just bypassed all that, and then we did incorporate our music company though. So we got some. What do you use for drum loops? A pedal? Or a dog plugin? What I use for drum loops, right now, everything I'm doing right here on the fly. Oh, alright, Adam, you take care, buddy. We'll catch you later too, my friend. We'll be streaming live later tonight. But Jason, to answer your question, my Digitech RP5, the Digitech RP360 has drum patterns in there. And I'll use that right on the fly because what's so convenient about this thing, it's got a really huge knob. Once you activate the drums, you can literally turn the drum on and off with your foot. Which the whole hands-free thing I love. But I do have, and I will later on, I do have a couple of videos of me doing kind of short demos on okay, yeah, Jason, yeah. The Digitech S-Strum or the Strum pedal, and then the Digitech Trio Plus. But before that, how I was able to get some of my CDs, the drum tracks, I have we have the Boss DR880 drum machine that I would take patterns and enhance them with the pads. And then we have the DR660, and I have the old DR5 rhythm section, rhythm drum machine that has all type of sound modules in there. Bought that thing back in 1980. I mean, no, 1980, 1993 or 1994, something like that. Oh, you got the RP 500. I have that too. Yeah, it has looper but no drums. You know, um, the whole idea, Jason, with the RP 500 is that was kind of a scaled down version of the Bob Bradshaw effects switching system. And it's a really cool concept because, you know, you can really turn everything on and off. What happened with mine, we were at a show and I had it in like the padded gig bag, and it fell out into the concrete in the padded gig bag. And it took a while, but like some of the overdrives and distortions, it would start to like fade in and fade out. So something got knocked in there. And so we had to replace it. And we replaced it with the RP 355. And then I had one of my students and I sold that to him. And we got the RP 360 XP. But it's basically the same concept. What's nice with the RP 500, if you notice, you have XLR outputs and you have quarter-inch output. So you basically got 4 outputs. And I know on the quarter-inch you had to switch to hit for amplifier or mixer. So basically, I thought I did try this one time, and I thought it worked. You could take your stereo outs on the quarter-inch, run it into 2 guitar amps, and then take the XLR and run it into 2 PA speakers, and you just get this massive wall of sound, you know. Because I think what is, once you get into the XLR, it'll automatically do the amp simulating. With the 360 XP, you do it internal, and there's a little switch. But what I like about this unit is I could take all my modulating effects and reconfigure in the order of my effects chain. So if I want to put, let's say, a certain effect pedal before the distortion and before the amplifier, you could do that with this thing. That's what I've done with the Univibe setting on here. Let me turn off the drop pedal. So that's that swirling sound. That's the Univibe, and I have it where I got it in front. So the Univibe is going through the distortion and going through the amp to give it closer to what the sound Hendrix and Robin Trower had, because back then amplifiers didn't really have an effects loop. You had to run it through to get, you know, because that's just the way things were back then. So I even got it for, this is actually the MXR flanger, it's not the phaser. So, oh yeah, it's more than you need. I know what you mean. Yeah, here's the thing. You know, I'm gonna tell you something, guys. My experience with all this, it's more than I need. Being a bedroom rocker in my apartment. No, but that's cool. This literally is the future of, you know, until the live scene kicks back in strong like it did back in the 80s. You know, I'm very fortunate, very blessed of how many shows we've been doing down here in Florida, which is great. You know. I'm very grateful for that. But as we all know, the scene has, compared to the 80s, huge difference, man. Huge difference. So for people that are the bedroom rockers or their studio, turning their bedroom into studio, and they got their setup, by all means, go for it, man. That really, this is one way, you know, when people say, oh, we'll hire you, you know, we'll give you the gig for exposure. Don't need that, you know. You could get exposure right here with YouTube, and it goes worldwide, you know. How cool is that? We didn't have that in the 80s, man. You try to get signed, you got to make the demo tape, send it in, hope and pray that somebody listens to it, you know. So it's definitely is really cool times we live in. But getting back to your statement, Jason, yeah, a lot of these effect units, man, they got far more than, I don't use half of what's in this thing. You know, I only use what, for a certain sound that I'm looking for. And I try to make it as best as I can, because, you know, everything's got its limitation, you know. And then tweak the sound, and, you know, next thing you know, we're good to go. So, now, I did change, okay, all right, real quick here. My guitar's in standard tuning, I also have the Digitech drop pedal, and in this situation, this case, and my opening track I played, I got it down to a drop C. So, if anyone ever gets one of these pedals, it's done in a numeric system um, where it's not lit up, meaning your foot switch. You're on 0. As soon as you click it on, you'll go from 1, which will be E flat, 2 will be drop D, 3 will be drop D flat, 4 will be drop C, and then 5 will be B. 6 will be B flat, 7 will be A, and then, let me see. Oh yeah, it will be A, and then you have an octave, which will be both octaves, and then, yeah, full octave down. So I gotta rethink that again. Sorry, guys, but I know you can go all the way down to low E, and then you have this thing over here, which is an octave divider, which will be like guitar. R2, R3 locking up. What's happening, my friend? So what's really cool with this, you also have this thing called a momentary switch. So when I have it on, okay, this works better. If I turn it off, and I'm gonna go down to my drop C. Now I got the momentary switch to on, but I'm still in my standard tuning. The momentary switch, what it does, you hit the pedal, your drop tune, you release the pedal, you're back into standard tune. So it'll be like this. When I hold the pedal down, drop C. When I release the pedal, back to standard tuning, which is kind of cool if you want to do some effects like, you know, stuff like that. But with the switch off, then you can turn the momentary switch off. Now I'm gonna do my drop C, and it'll stay drop C. You can walk around, run around, and do whatever you want. You know what? The opening track almost reminded me of a song from the band Rancid, and I'm not really big into any type of punk rock. I respect all kinds of music, but I forget what the name of that song was. But it almost has that, Now, here's the thing. In standard tuning, it's A, standard tuning, C, G, D, A, C, G, and F. But now when I activate the drop pedal, my A becomes, this becomes C. Drop C. Let's see if I remember this now. See, it's kind of confusing. C, D, E, F. So it's F. F, G sharp. I have to really figure it out. Sorry about that, guys. But what's really cool is that instantly, because you all know that when you have to do any type of drop tuning with these, it's a nightmare. So I'm going to do another quick number. I changed the drum pattern here, and we're going to just do this right off the cuff. And so you guys get a chance to hear, the creative process, what you could just do with some of the stuff. The drum patterns, again, are coming from the RP360. I got my drop pedal to a drop C. And I'm running it into the Jamman stereo looper. And so here goes my drums. it's got an effect of sub-octave, so I can get low end bass sounds. That's basically what you could do with all this stuff, to get a little creative. Sometimes when I'm on the fly coming up with a chord progression, and if I'm just totally improvising on it, I'll have to kind of almost remember, okay, did I go from F to a G or G to an F, when I'm laying down the bass. And I don't mind that being an issue, because sometimes when you improvise, as the ideas are coming to your head, they're coming out your hands. That's what I said yesterday. The magic about improvisation is that it keeps things fresh. It really is one of the truest forms of actually playing music. It's bam right there on the spot, and you really don't have to be much of a virtuoso. You don't have to be a shredder. You don't have to do this, that, and the other. Just make things sound good, and it'll definitely attract a person's ear. One thing I've noticed is that I got a feeling that what could happen in the near future is that for shredding, it might be like in spurts. So they'll be having more of a gap of space to kind of catch your breath, and I don't mean it in a way of catching your breath because you're tired, but sonically, so that you're not getting all this information too much, because it was different in the 80s because it was the first generation of the shred metal, much different. A lot of them got their inspirations from the jazz fusion that was happening in the 1970s. And but with the jazz fusion, with that style of music, it's not just one sonic distortion all the time, or a type of a rhythm that's constantly like this. So there's these dynamics, and I think that's what pulls a person in. But I'm a big fan of it. And I'm a big fan of that stuff as well. I'm a big fan of that, as well as doing stuff like this, It's having these two different, unified again. Being able to have all kind of different colors to choose from when you're playing, and that's what I like about this pedal so much, and that's what I like with some of the other effect units. There's a multiple of stuff that you could use for the creative process. Now, I don't know if the Helix, because the Helix is big. It's very big in popularity. Let me get my insurance cup, in case I fall over and hit my head. Oh, I love doing the dime bag dive bombs. Oh yeah, man. You know what? Now that you mention it, Dimebag Darrell, if you would put him on the scale of could he play as fast as, let's say, what Yngwie does, or what's this guy? I mentioned his name before. I sometimes forget names now, Maybe I'm getting old, who knows. Rusty Cooley. He's a great shredder, and then Tony McAlpine, man. Tony McAlpine is such an underrated guitarist and a great classical pianist. Holy crap. He deserves a hell of a lot more respect and honor for his hard work, and got Vinnie Moore and all that. But what I like, so my point is, Dimebag Darrell, it's not that he cannot play fast. He chooses his notes very, very carefully. And even though some of it might appear to be like melodic and maybe slow compared to the super shredders out there, it just has a lot of intensity. And that is one guitar player, God rest his soul, that he's a huge inspiration on heavy riffs, heavy rhythm playing, shredding, so that a person, let me just take another hit, my friends. So in the beginning stages, when a person is frustrated because, let's say, they cannot do something like this. Well, you could still come in, with a lot of heavy riffs. So, yeah, let me see. I love solos. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, R2, R3 locking up. You got a good point there. I love solos that you can hum to, and Dimebag had a lot of shred, but very melodic. Yeah, to me that's very important. That sense of melody, man, that's what a person remembers the most. And that really is key of being a good guitarist. If a person's just sit and really listen to you. And tone is everything subjective. I mean that's. You're not gonna get really around that. But if you really think about it, there's a kind of how can I say? All right, I'm gonna say this because of the era I come from playing, that I could honestly remember what we had out there. As far as when you go to the music store, boom, this is what you saw. You either bought the Fender or the Marshall, and the Mesa Boogie was a product of taking a Fender and zooking it up, because there was an interview with Carlos Santana, who I think is a great guitarist. I just love the way he makes the guitar sing. But he said he would take the Fender Twin, because he used to use a lot of Fender amps back in the day. And actually, David Enos, what's happening, my friend? Thanks for joining, buddy. Ted Nugent used to use a lot of the old Fender Twins to just crank everything up, man. But basically, I remember going to Chicago Music Company, not Chicago Music Exchange. It was not around, not that I'm aware of. And I used to go around a lot in the whole area, and I never saw it. If it was, we had some music stores downtown Chicago and some of the outlying suburbs. But when I would go into Chicago Music Company from like 1978, I think I started going in there. I remember seeing Fender, and then Music Man was coming out, the Music Man amps. Barkus Berry, short-lived amplifier, but it was Barkus Berry. And the crate was shaped like the crate box. Lab Series, I think Gibson owned Lab Series. Later on, I had a Lab Series L5. I think it was 1980 or 80. No, it had to be 1981. Yeah, I had the L5. But basically, what I saw was either the Fender or the Marshall. So what Carlos Santana said, that the guy from Mesa Boogie took a Fender apart, if I'm remembering this correctly, and just zooked it up. He modified it, because what Carlos said, he would put his Fender, like when he'd be practicing in his house, in his room, he'd have to put it face down and with pillows on top of it and crank it up to get that tone. Well, I remember we really didn't have much of channel switching amplifiers, so you got the distortion pedal and plugged it in, and sometimes distortion pedals would work better on different amplifiers because of the tone, the way the tone controls were just made. Like if I ran a Boss or a Sonic, Ibanez had the Sonic Distortion TS9, I think it was. If you ran it through the Fender Twin, or the Fender Twin I had with the L-Tech speakers in it, it sounded very brittle, man. I had to really adjust everything. But my old Tube Screamer totally kicked ass at it. And I had a MXR Distortion Plus that later on was a big black box with stereo outputs. And it wasn't much of a distortion, but it had a strong overdrive. And when I would run it through my Fender, it really sounded good. But long gone now. But basically, that's what we had back then. Now you got, Mesa Boogie, triple rectifier, and then, Peavey was around too. And the interesting thing I see with PV electronics is that back then, if especially in like the first incarnation of the metal, and I'm talking like early era, like 1982, 83, in that time frame. If you were to say PV will become the new sound of metal, if you were to say that back then, you'd get laughed at. I remember when I did traded my Marshall in my Super Lead Series 100 212 for the PV Special 130. There used to be a place in Chicago called Biasco Music on Belmont Avenue, like either past Central or before Central. And yeah, I brought my Marshall in, and that guy, boy, he opened up the door and like practically laid out the red carpet for me. So I told him what I wanted to do. And, I was, 18, 19 years old at the time. Really didn't know. And, but I knew what I wanted. See, the Marshall did not have reverb. Or a clean setting, channel switching, and I was heavily into the fusion. So, it wasn't doing it for me. Jim Geachert, how are you, my friend? We were just talking good things, of course, about you. Biasco Music. Yes, R2, R3, you remember Biasco Music. Dave Biasco. There was Dave Sr. and Dave Jr. And the last time I bought something from them, I think it was the PV Special 150. It's, how the years they blend together. But anyways, I remember, and I did not have a car, so I'm on the bus, going up on Belmont Avenue, and I called them, and I told them what I wanted, and they said what time they closed. And literally, the bus was late, because, this is how it is. I get off the bus, I go across the street, and, he's locking the door. Dave Biasco's locking the door. And I said, yeah, but I want to buy the amp. I'm sorry, come tomorrow. I whip out the cash, I go like this, he unlocks the door and lets me in, Money talks. Proof right there that money talks. But, yeah, you walk into Biasco Music, they had all the pianos right there. And then they have the amps and some of the guitars and that, and, those were the days where we had the mom and pop shops, So, yeah, Jim Geachert, yeah, I listened to that track you recorded, man. Totally awesome. Now, let's see. Oh, it looks like, Jim, you got a wedding to do. Oh, wait a minute. Or R2. R2, R3, you got a wedding to go to. Or maybe you're playing it. Well, have a great time, my friend. If you're not playing it, you'll have even more better time, because then you can sit back and relax, especially during the reception. But yeah, Jim Geachert, I wanted to ask you, the track that you sent me, that you recorded, the organ part, did that come off of your Line 6 pod? Because I know I've seen a video of Ola Engel doing demo. And this video is about maybe 3 years ago or something like that. And he's going through some of the metal sounds, and then he's going through some of the other patches that's in there that is like sound effects. So I was just wondering if you got that organ sound from your Line 6. I know I got a couple of the organ sounds in the Roland GR55 guitar synth, and then on the GR33 guitar synth. Which I'll do some more videos of that stuff when I was doing the promo for DB Guitar Jams. I did go off on a tangent about that because I wanted to shoot the promotion for what DB Guitar Jams is really going to be about. Oh, use GarageBand for the organ. Okay. Yeah, that was a cool. Yeah. I'll tell you what, Joe Winch project. For those who don't know who he is, sub to his channel. He's great, man. Jim Geachert, all you guys are great. Yeah, that was really cool, Jim. I really enjoyed it, man. That's why I try to, at my live shows, when I could play some of you guys' stuff, and even if I jam too long, I try to make it where everyone can hear your stuff, It does become a little bit difficult to do the covers out there, though, I'll tell you, man. But I guess as long as it's like your version of doing the covers, it could be okay. Until they get, mad about that and says, no, you're taking their song, it's still theirs, you don't own the rights to it. Okay, write our own, One thing I have noticed though, if music is done good, you will get people that will like it. You might not get like a whole crowd like we used to back in the day, because it's a different time now. When people go out, they just want to sit and drink. They could really care less, you know. But the last gig we did at, the weeks go by quick, you know. Last week I think it was at the Blue Monkey. I did sneak in a couple of originals, and you know, the people that were there that liked it, they liked it. They showed their appreciation. So it, even if it's one person out there, that's one person that you can't touch. That's one person that is accepting original music. That just happens to be one person in that establishment, in that bar, at that time. So I would never. We are back, my friends. We still get sometimes dropout signal here, but I would never look at it as something to discourage you to you know, from putting your music out there. If you're out there gigging live, go ahead and take that chance, because everything's played out, and people will respond to it, and hopefully, and sometimes that's what helps start the ball rolling again. You know, is taking someone that will take that chance to say, you know what, let's just go ahead and do it. You know, and let's see where the cards fall, where the chips may fall. You know, and you still could do your covers. I'll tell you what, there's several club owners down here I've talked to that they really are concerned with the copyright infringement. They're express their feelings on having another bill to pay. You know, they're paying the band, and just with the music. You know, they're paying the band, now they're gonna pay the rights for them to play this song, or they gotta pay for their music to be played. You know, cover music to be played. And a lot of them are, I think they're getting tired. I remember one guy in particular down here, I had a conversation, and he says, you know, it looks like it's not much, but it's when you add it up at the end of the year, your yearly budget, your annual budget, when you start looking at how much that builds up, and that's just to pay the performance rights, let alone pay the cover bands. It's like it's a kill. It kills them. So I could really see where they're coming from on that. And that could also be why some of these club owners are reluctant to hire new musicians and new bands. And I've been out recording myself, talking with some of these people, and when I get a chance to, maybe we'll compile it and, you know, put it up on the internet. And then none of it's going to be negative to bash that person, but it's to show what's going on in the world of the gigs, of getting the gigs. There was a place I talked to yesterday that they like more of the original bands. They're one of the few places I ran into down here that really want more of original music. Okay, R2R3, you have a great time, my friend. You take care, buddy. It's always good talking to you. Nine Phantoms, what's happening, man? Michael B, what's happening? Michael B, I'm glad that you sent that comment on the acoustic with the guitar synths. What spawned the inspiration? Hey, how's it going, my friend? Good talking to you. Good seeing you. The type is kind of small. Oh, you're going to see a Fleetwood Mac tribute band soon, so I'll have to watch. That's fine. I don't take any of that, you know, personal. Oh, you got to sit and watch my program. No, do what you want. You know, this will always. I leave stuff up so people can enjoy you later. You know, because I know, you know, life is busy. And if you live down here in Florida, there's only so many roads. Oh yeah, thanks, Michael B. Yeah, there's only so many roads down here, and they'll dead end because there's a canal, and you got to turn around and drive back around, and you know, go around the neighborhoods to get to where you got to go. There's kind of a joke I heard some of the people say down here that it took me a half hour to get across the street, you know. But it is nice down here. It really is. It really is pretty down here. But yeah, Michael B, when you sent that, I appreciated the comment, and with the guitar synths, and what gave me the idea of putting a synthesizer on the acoustic was seeing how Al Di Meola works his on the acoustic, where he get the overdrive sound, but that bass, you could combine the bass heavy bass with the acoustic, and I mean it just sounds great. And then since the guitar synth itself has strings and pianos and all that, I could just orchestrate things right on the fly. The only thing I cannot do, and I would have to get a special saddle pickup system for this, is on the nylon string guitar, because the pickup. I'm gonna just show you this real quick on my Warlock. I think next week our show is later, so maybe next week I'll be able to get this, crank this up. But this pickup system, oh yeah, it is very inspiring. Yeah, it's, to me, what inspires me is every time I look at the guitar, I forget who it was asking what inspires you to play. And yeah, I will say YouTube does, because it's an outlet in that. But even before YouTube and the internet, just by picking the guitar up and just hearing certain notes and then hearing certain things in my head, ideas would just spill out left and right. So it's really just having the instrument itself is inspiration, and then other people, watching other people play and that. What model of Ibanez? I was just, let's see. Okay, let me see what we got here. Sorry guys. What model Ibanez? I was just about to answer. Oh, okay. That Ibanez is a RGA. Reverse head check. I'll show you that real quick, and then with take care, Zach. I really appreciate you showing up, man. Thank you so much. But real quick, with the guitar synthesizer, the GK pickup, it's got little. You might not be able to see it, but it does have like little pole pieces that's underneath the string, so it is magnetic. So it will not really pick up on the nylon string guitar. That's why the Canadian company, Godin, they do have a nylon string guitar that you could use the synth, but the strings, they sit on individual saddles. So I really think it's brilliant, because there's a direct contact to the sensor, and it'll just transfer it right to the guitar synth itself. But the thing tracks great. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh, this is a great Warlock, man. We've had this since 2000. This is called. It's a neck through series, and it is called the New Jersey or NJ neck through series. Yeah, I don't know if it's. Yeah, I know. Deb's laughing at it.
That's cute.
So yeah, it is a neck through. Yeah, it feels great. I have this to drop D, and so I got very thick strings on here. Let's see. Oh yeah, Michael B. I do know there's a guy. His name is Robert's Guitar Dungeon, and he's got some good stuff on his videos. And he's got the Majestic, the Music Man Majestic, and it's got the Piaggio pickup, and I think you could actually blend the two. I do know the guitar company, Michael Kelly, has like a Les Paul style that'll have two outputs that you could run it if you wanted to run the Piaggio into one, like acoustic amp, and the regular into a guitar amp, or you can mix it into a one signal straight into the Guitar Hack. How are you, my friend? You can run that right into one, like a PA speaker, and can blend it too. Okay, so Guitar Hack. I don't know if it's you or someone else I saw. I think it was on maybe Phil McKnight. But I think you mentioned about there's a sickness in your family, and you got our thoughts and prayers with you, man. I know I've lost my father to cancer. I lost my sister, and she was younger than me, to cancer. So. And every 3 years I go for my checkup to make sure that everything's all right, because when it runs that close, and then they do the checkup, and then if there's polyps, they'll zap the polyps, and then they've analyzed it to make sure it's not cancer. So far, thank God, I've been all right. But you never know, anything can happen, man. You never know when your number comes up. So yeah, thoughts and prayer with you. Sonia, hey, how you doing? American Daredevil, how are you? Let's see, Michael Bean. I remember the V guitar format. Yes. Oh, thanks, man. Thank you. Now this Ibanez, they call this the RGA, not because it's got the reverse headstock. It is thinner than the RG, and the it's got more contours here, so it's kind of like scalloped as far as the contours. You have a belly cut, but no arm, or belly cut and no arm contour. Yeah, oh, it was you, Guitar Hack. Yeah, no problem, no problem at all, my friend. It's you know, life is really precious. It really is, and all this becomes insignificant compared to that. So let's hope and pray that. I think you said it was your mom. I'm not too sure. I apologize for not remembering exactly who, but let's hope and pray that she pulls out of this. But I do know it's tough, man. See, we're all getting older, and we're going to start experiencing loved ones going. I mean, it is part of life. So, but here is the RG series. So it's a lot thicker, and you got the contour, you know. So, I mean, I do like the Ibanez guitars a lot, but I like a lot of other brands. But I'll tell you what, when I decided to do a guitar thing called Rock and Ibanez, it's not to be in competition with any other programs that's out there. I started to think about it this year. 1978. Yeah. 1978, Ibanez became their own company. It's 2018, so there's your 40 years right there. And it made me realize, with the 40th anniversary of Van Halen's One album, killer album, man, totally changed the whole guitar platform. And that I thought, well, I remember what other companies out there that really had strong staying power and was up against all odds. And then I did watch a video on Ibanez, and of course I've had Ibanez guitars, and I was really shocked to see that Ibanez really started like 1970, and I think in 1972 they got the rights to do sales with trades with America, and so. But yeah, they've had some killer guitars, and they not once did Ibanez drop out of the market. And it's not to say anything bad about other companies. They'll do it for restructuring reasons. I know BC Rich has been having some issues, and it's sad to see. I know Dean had some situations, but then Dean came back strong. I think what helped Dean guitars was the fact that Dimebag, was using that ML, and that really helped bring Dean, to the forefront again. Kramer guitars, and I remember when Kramer had the aluminum fretboard, the aluminum neck with the pitchfork headstock. Very heavy guitar, man. Holy crap. I don't know what's happening with Hamer guitars, Hamer, Hamer. I remember seeing those a lot in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. I still miss my Ibanez Roadstar. Yeah, Guitar Hack, the old Roadstar. The headstock was shaped different. I went from a 1978, and then a year or two later, a 1979 Ibanez Artist, to the Ibanez Roadster, a black one with a single pickup and a single knob, and the headstock was different. They were going through their experimentations. That's what was happening with Ibanez, But even through all that, they did not close shop. I think the thing that really, really pushed Ibanez was when Gibson was suing them because of their Ibanez Les Paul versus the Gibson Les Paul, and a lot of people were saying, "Why spend all that money for the Gibson when you get the Ibanez?" And I do remember seeing in the old Guitar Player magazines. I was still in high school, and this had been maybe 1979, 1980. I just bought my Ibanez Artist used, and I seen in the ad in Guitar Player, Ibanez Artist guitar, and they just had their dot neck version versus the Gibson Les Paul, and they said, why spend this much money on the Gibson when you could buy an Ibanez Artist and get basically the same thing? Gibson could not really sue them for that as far as the Ibanez Artist, because it became its own identity. They probably could have gone after them for saying, hey, you know, it's almost like you're slandering. Why buy our product when you could buy your product, you know? That's why back in the 70s, if you ever noticed the TV commercials for like peanut butter, the peanut butter would be like Brand X, and the brand that was pushing their name was, you know, it's all the copyright infringements and whatnot was going on back then. But no, Ibanez really stayed. They when that happened for Gibson, they really went full swing, 100%, down to their pickups, down everything. You know, everything 100% Ibanez. We're gonna make our own. We're not gonna rely on any outside source, or, you know, they wanted to see if they could make it on their own, and they did. That's incredible. Now it's interesting with this headstock. Even though it's reversed, maybe this would be a better representation. That headstock, that shape, if you look at the old Ibanez Icemans, that was the Iceman headstock. Because my friend Andy Rios, great guitar player, had a Ibanez Paul Stanley model. Of course, it was a 3-in-3, but it was identical shape to this. So I think what Ibanez was doing was going back to a design that was going to catch everybody's eyes for the new new versions of rock and metal, you know. And with their Edge tremolo system, yeah. See, I played an Ibanez LP from the 70s. It weighed a ton, but sounded great. Yeah. Well, here's the deal. See, again, from the 70s, this is the deal. We used to think the heavier the guitar, the more sustained, and part of it was true. But, you know, sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't. But for me, starting in the mid-70s and going to the music stores back then, you pick up a Les Paul, and that's where Les Paul was, you know. Now, the Gibson Les Paul that we have, and I always say we, because everything is both of ours, my wife and I. You know, Deb is always, she's always the equal part. That's why I maybe I joke and kid around, but here's my sponsorship. You know, support from my wife, and of course all of you guys. To me, that's the best sponsorship anyone could have, right? But the Les Paul we have is slightly chambered. It's not 100% chambered. This is the one we have is a 2013. And I think what they did is there's only certain like holes in between, you know, would be the mahogany body and the carved maple top. It's slightly chambered because it does have weight to it. I had a guitar student back up in Illinois. He had a Sunburst Gibson Les Paul, and wow, man, it was almost as light as this. I couldn't believe it, you know. But, you know, we were used to heavy guitars, so you pick it up and that's how it was, you know. No, it didn't bother us. It didn't really faze us. So I think maybe that's why my perception is on amplifiers and effect units and that. I don't care if it's not going to make me sound like this guy or that guy, because I'm not that person. I'm me. And I always had to pull the sound out of, you know, real cheap amplifiers, man. Because before I bought my Crate 1R, I could not afford the Lab Series L3. I couldn't even afford the L5. So I was going to try to go for the Lab Series L3. So I had to put money down on layaway. I was working at a bike shop. I'm getting all Jones, all antsy, you know. So the Crate was cheaper, so I was able to get an amplifier quicker, because the only amplifier I had at the time was, I don't even remember the brand name. It was a little tiny box with a tiny speaker. I'm sure you could find some of the stuff on the internet, but the amplifiers I used to see at the pawn shops, they were literally about maybe 4 inches wide and maybe about, you know, 30 inches tall, And as far as 4 inches thick, I mean maybe 24 inches tall, and then maybe another 12 or 18 inches wide with a tiny little 4-inch speaker, and you click it, click, and there's that. That's the only knob it had. That was it, and it was an open back. And holy crap! But there was one in particular I had when I still had my original Ibanez Tube Screamer. I ran it through there, and wow, it had a tone, man. That was killer. I was shocked. So, but then other than that, the PV Special series, the solo series, Special 130s, I had a few of those. Special 150, that I wish I kept. Maybe their tone was not all that great, but back then we had to work hard to get a sound out of it, and then everything else, it had to be from your hands, So the convenience of having these modeling amps is that some of them you don't have to be loud, and you could do, and with the USB port, you could do the direct recording, for YouTube videos and that, which I think that is really cool. That's really cool. But another factor is that they started seeing this movement with all these tribute bands and these cover bands. More so, I want to say the cover bands, because a tribute band might zoom in on just one artist. So really, they only need that one sound. Or if you get a tribute band that will do maybe three different artists, that's real similar in sound. That's one thing. But a cover band, when they got to cover all these different sounds, that's, I think, one of the reasons why they came out with the modeling effect unit, the modeling amps, for that convenience. So now it's going to be interesting. I want to say Phil McKnight made this comment about amplifiers. The amp, the guitar. Yeah, I think it was Phil. Not to say anything bad about Phil. I mean, he's got a good point. There was another article that came out that says now guitar's not dead, and that Phil said something about is Taylor Swift the new Eddie Van Halen. And I know exactly what he meant. Not in technique-wise, but in popularity-wise, because you see her with the guitar, right? And so right away, mainstream TV turns it on, and they adjust the rabbit ears, antennas, and all that, and they see this stuff, and they figure, okay, we haven't seen the guitar in a while because with the popularity of rap music and all that, so everything's getting shifted around. So what Phil said, yeah, now the guitar is becoming popular again, and then what will really help is when these girls see other girls seeing YouTube, female guitarists on YouTube, whether they're shredding or classical guitarists, which, man, these girls are great. Doing a cover band gig tonight. Guitar Hack. Oh, okay, you're doing a cover gig tonight. Well, basically that's what we're doing, except I'm trying to sneak more originals in there. And you're just running through a tube amp. I'll tell you, that's great. See, now, I like that, Guitar Hack. You know what I like about that? Because it's going to bring it back down to what it used to be. I know I'm not Eddie Van, and even if I were to nail Eruption, and I never really sat down to nail it, I would just borrow ideas from it, like a lot of us do. But I'll never really sound exactly like him. You could get dangerously close, and I do mean dangerously close. And that's not just in your technique, it's also in the gear that you buy. So, I don't knock anybody for that. I think it is a great idea. And especially if you like that sound, yeah, that's how you get it, because that's what he's using, But I do like also when people have bringing their own personality into the play, because it shows what you can do and what's accepted. Now, if a person really wants to play the covers or a tribute band, and that's their idol, and that's who they want to sound like, I'm 100%, for them in that. I'm not knocking them at all, because they're doing what they want to do, It's when people make you feel like you have to do this, otherwise you won't be successful, or you won't this and you won't that. That's why I disagree with that, because if you just sound good, sound as good as those people, you'll get noticed, Again, it is a different world we live in. And this is a contributing factor. Oh, there's a reason I call myself Guitar Hack. Yeah, no. Well, I mean, I think what it is, Guitar Hack, if you were to take a look and analyze what you do, you're going to find that you're doing something no one else is doing. And the reason why you could do it so good, you can do it in your sleep. It's like second nature to you. And if anyone were to ask me, Dave, what do you think I should do to sound good? Basically, my advice is whatever it is that really catches your ear and catches your interest, to the point where you sit there and you're constantly drilling, you're constantly woodshedding to the point where you make it sound second nature. That is what's going to stand out the most, because when you go out and play, I don't want to use this as a bad terminology, but your safety net, your crutch, if you want to call it that, will be that comfort zone. But the thing is, that's what's going to turn people's heads, because you'll be able to do it better than anybody else, because it's really you. It's you doing it, and you got it packed down to the point where you could do it in your sleep. And this is the magical thing about this. When you're at that point where you do certain things that you like in your sleep, your creative ideas, when you play, you look like you mean what you're doing, and people they pick up on that. That's why I never try to fake guitar solos. If I look at the chord progression, okay, I could do something like in here and make it fit, because I don't want to hack the song up or anything like that. Just try to make it sound good. But now, if I were to join a tribute band, that'd be totally different, where I'm constantly, it's got to be like this. Then yeah, I'm going to do a lot of woodshedding to get it as close to it as possible. Back in the day, we used to call that the Vegas act. The Elvis. But yeah, you run your pedals into a tube amp. Yeah. I tell you what, gigging is fun. There's nothing like it, man. And all the travels that we've done in the past, we're very fortunate, very blessed. We were able to self-fund everything, which there's something magical about that, because you're on your time. My wife could look at all the expenses, what it's going to cost. She could forecast and what we're going to make, what we're going to potentially make. Hey, Sean Murphy Howard and Whammy Bar fans. Oh yeah, man. That is so cool, Old man Dan, how are you, my friend? Good seeing you. But like I was saying, so Deb would factor in what our expenses were, what we were potentially going to make, and then we'd watch what we would spend. So it would help our travels that much, to make it that much more enjoyable. Now, a lot of times you're on a real tight time frame, because when you're driving, which is much better than flying. It's not that I don't like to fly, it's just that bring all the stuff on an airplane and you're in the red financially, man. It's just, you can't do it, it's too expensive, Guitar hack, hey new people, yeah. Rock and roll. But it was a lot of fun, and all the places we would travel to, we haven't done anything in Florida. Now we relocated down here to Florida. We're doing a lot of gigs down here. And Florida being a fairly long state, big, there's so many places here that we're going to be doing more and more down here. And, if time allows us, if we do a gig and, outside of Florida, we'll do that again. Only if the time allows us, But because we've done so much of it, we literally would drive, we'd be in the Midwest, Chicago. We were coming out of Aurora, Naperville, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. But I grew up in the city, and I used to do a lot of stuff in Chicago. And we used to do a lot of shows downtown Chicago as well. But we would drive up to Canada, come back to Illinois, then we'd go to Texas, come back, a couple times we'd go up to Minnesota, and then we have like 3 shows back to back. So with Minnesota, Illinois show, Minnesota, and then Indiana, and then Wisconsin, and then we're doing all this. And surprisingly, a couple of festivals we did would pay. Okay, one festival in particular, it got canceled. But honestly, the gigs that we were doing that was guaranteed paid, made it worthwhile, were either the corporate gigs or the private functions. And they'd contact us. And because we had such a good track record of showing up on time, not burning people, and working with their budgets, and they'd work with ours, you know, and they liked what I was doing. They had no problem. And there were times she would drive and she would have the flu. She'd be sick, you know, and that was tough. But you know, it can be very expensive and it can be very tough on the body because sometimes we pull in the truck stops. I think Johnny Bean mentioned this. He said some of his travels, he'd stop and they'd be resting at the truck stops or the rest areas. Oh yeah, and we've done that. We've even taken showers at the truck stops. And the showers, a lot of the truck stops, they're nice, real nice. You know, because they're catering to our over-the-road truckers, and the restaurants are starting to serve very healthy food because they don't want to see a trucker out there pulling doubles and he has a heart attack and boom, crashes and kills the whole family. You know, so they're becoming very wise with that. But it's a lot of fun because you get to see areas that you've never seen before. For instance, when we drove and did the show for the Hopi Indian tribe in Arizona, and we're driving through the desert. Now at nighttime, everything is dark, so we don't really realize, you know, until when we were coming back. Because, you know, when you're leaving Arizona, now you go through, especially if you leave early in the morning. Hey, Seven, how are you? How's it going, my friend? Good seeing you. Who can I sell my original songs to? Real interesting that you mentioned that. You could go ahead and, you know, there's CD Baby, Apple iTunes, I think. My wife's got a lot more information there. But if you are heavily involved in anything in your area that you live in, and people find out that you're a musician, and you got your original music, let's say you got a CD, and they want to buy it, sell it to them. Basically, this is what we've done. We'd buy the CD duplicators. We, you know, have our recorders. We'd mix them down ourselves, and I know some people get bashed at, but that's fine. You know, I'm not saying anything bad about a professional recording studio or anything like that. They are professionals in the field of what they do, and the good ones will charge what they need to charge for their time because their time is valuable. So, and I'm not knocking that. But if you're on a budget and you can't, you can do it yourself. And then if that doesn't work out too good for you, and if you're not comfortable, you can contact some of these studios now and see if you can work out, you know, some sort of, you tell them that you're on a budget. Because honestly, guys, there is a lot of good people that are out there. They're in the same boat that we're in, you know. So you can work out a budget with them, and then they'll make your CD sound great. And if you want to sell your CD, you can package it. If they have a packaging company, they do it with shrink wrap. This is what we used to do. I'll tell you exactly what we used to do. So we do it without duplicators. We get the shrink wrap machine. We get the barcode because we would send our material in and get a copy written and registered. And you get the form. And so we package the CD. We have the UPC barcode and all that. And we'd sell our CDs for $10 at our shows. And our shows would literally range. Here's where you can really hit a lot of people. If you're having a hard time getting into, oh, let's see something, yeah. Oh, yeah, Steven Productions. I don't know what that is. Distro Kid. Yeah. Or maybe it's a comment, yeah, distributing kit. You know, I know, I honestly don't know what that is. I mix my own, getting better at it, publish, and, okay, Michael B. Okay, I see, okay. Because there's a different platform. Now, you're not going to, how can I say, and I'm going to say this in a very, very positive way. You're not going to please everybody all the time, but you're going to have people that are going to be interested in your music. And this is how I started viewing all this. because some of the bands I was in, back in the 80s, and you go and you make the demo and you got to send it in, and hopefully someone picks up, an independent label picks you up, and all of that. And or you spend, like one band we were in, we spent like $5,000, and everyone pitched in, which if you is a low budget compared to what you can spend out there. But let's say you don't even have the $5,000 to invest. So I've always had tape decks and stuff like that to record all my ideas. And what I noticed, now let's see something. Oh, okay, I see this. That's really good to know, Michael B. and Steven Productions. That's some good information. $25 per release. That's it, easy. Sean Murphy is writing a song called "The Ownership of One." Go for it. My opinion is this: never let anybody hold you back. You're gonna get criticisms from everybody, and there's organizations and services out there that you could send material to, and they could critique it and things of that nature. And if you want to go ahead and do that, that's fine. Me personally, unless it's something that someone says, Dave, you really need to this because there's something going on. Let's say you want to get it on a major radio station and they kind of change the format as far as electronically and what will physically be able to be audio to be played. That's totally different. But the average person, they could care less about Ibanez, they could care less about Digitech, they could care less about megahertz or anything like that. And even though the average person's now their knowledge has grown because of YouTube and everything, and high quality stereo systems out there and that, so there is that. But it's interesting that then they'll want to go back to vinyl and analog. When I remember when digital was coming out, they would say basically, who wants that old analog, those old tubes and that? They're noisy, they're this, that. You want the nice, clean digital. Now digital ran its course. Now everybody wants to go back to the noisy analog and that. To me, I love the sound of analog. It's a warmer sound, But my point is, you could see it's always back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So, in the process of trying to get your music out there, and on a radio station or a major label or someone that's going to start pumping some serious money into you, and you're making your CDs yourself, go ahead and sell them. If there's a person that's interested and they'll listen to it and they'll like it, if you say, no, I'm waiting for so-and-so, one thing I can guarantee is time is going to go by. And when time goes by, your life goes by, and then you start looking back and reflecting and saying, you know what, I could have sold something, I could have made some extra money to kind of help me out here. And maybe it's not sonically at this level, but people will still enjoy it. Because do you guys ever find your old cassette tapes? Or if some of you have 8-track tapes and you got the 8-track player, and you put the song in, the music in, and the tape is gonna sound hiss, you know that. Especially if it's been dropped in water a few times and you dry it out. But when you listen to it, and you listen to the content on the tape, you listen to the song, the music on the tape, and if it sparks, reminiscent of the good old days, and you kind of, it still sounds good to me, and I still like this song, I still like this band, and it brings back some great memories, and I still like that. Chances are you might listen to it, maybe not all the time, but you might listen to it. The recorders that we have available for us now for home studios is 10 times better than a lot of that stuff back then. It's very more tolerable to listen to. So I always say it like this: I'm in business, if I want to call it like this, to sell my music, my CDs, to people who want to enjoy my music. I'm not in business to sell to people who just want to do nothing but critique it and say, I need this, need that, unless I need to seek out their advice. And this is not meant to insult any of those people, because a lot of them are professionals, and they really are good people. But if you don't have the money,
You can show them samples of
oh,
CDs we made.
yeah, these are samples of the CDs that we made. Here.
And hold them up on the right
Yeah.
side so
So
they can
this
see
is a Christmas CD, Rockin' Shreddin' Guitar Christmas. So Deb took the pictures, you know, and we did the artwork, designed them, and there's the back, you know. And this one is more of a, this is called Uno. This is a CD that's more kind of like Santana style, kind of more, how do you say? Yeah, it's kind of like a Santana style, minus the singing. It's all instrumental. That cover was taken when we were in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And here's the back of it. That's at this one castle. And that's this way the sunrise. And again, it's easy because you could see the printing, you know. That's another thing you might want.
I'll hold them while you show
Okay.
them.
This one is from our band Legend, you know, our EP,
Lost Treasures.
Lost Treasures. And there's, you know, everyone in the band. There's Deb right there. She was playing keyboards and doing the management. I'm over here with my guitar. Mike Zane's our drummer. Bill, our vocalist. And our late, great, God rest his soul, Brad Lancaster. Great bass player. Great guy, man. Oh, he was awesome. Here's our first CD, Passionate Fire, which we recorded in our home studio, and then we had our friend who's opened up his recording studio help with the mixing.
No, I took that picture in our kitchen.
Yeah, that picture was taken in our kitchen.
And I hung up a white sheet across the wall, and then across, of course, on the floor too. And my lighting was construction lighting from our construction company.
Yeah, and this it's purposely done in black and white for that effect.
Yeah, I purposely did it in black and white.
That's when I had my old applause. That was not my original applause though, but
and
yeah.
Put the typing color.
And the typing, yeah, and put the typing color.
Cool CD.
Yeah, that's a cool CD. And then this is our Experience. It's kind of a shred instrumental guitar. There's the front cover. I was taken at one of our gigs. And there's the back, playing a Beast Rich Warlock with my teeth. This one right here this is when we were in Cabo San Lucas. Mexico, yeah. So this is called Malaya, and that's named after the hotel we stayed at, the Malaya San Lucas. And what I did is took the guitar and put it up against the patio, and the way the sun was reflecting the rail. So that's literally off of our patio at the hotel we stayed at, and that was the view we had. So, and here's the thing, guys.
And no one has said anything about, oh, you make these yourself?
Yep. No one said anything. You can. You guys can. And again, all right, when people have good advice, the good people out there, they just want to help you enhance it. And if you say, no, I don't have the money, they're not going to take it personal, because those are the good people. But you will get some of these people, and we used to send some stuff, and when we found out that all they want is, to make a quick buck off of us, and then, they move on to the next town, then that's when we stopped sending stuff to them and thinking, you know what, I sell my stuff to the general public. They buy it. They're the ones that are really helping me out. These people over here that say they're going to help me out, they always got something negative to say, but the people that buy my CD, it says, hey, it sounds good to me, I like it. So, I guess my point is, let's say you have 50 people interested and want to buy your CD that you sell at $10 a pop. All you got to do is do the math. And if you tell 50 of those people, no, I got to wait because this guy tells me that I have to do this, I have to do that. But those 50 people say, well, I don't care about that. I don't even know what SM57 is or AK-47. I don't know. None of that matters to me. We like your music. We like what you're doing. We want to help support you. Are you going to say no to them? You could. My point is, you could go ahead and sell it to them, and then in the process, the people that want to critique everything and do this, you can still say to them, well, I'll still take your advice and we'll work together, because I have to raise the money. So I'm going to sell 50 of these CDs. I got these people out here. They'll help buy my product, and then you could say, well, no, this is the CD before I made it. You know what I mean? So this is like the special CD. Now you got $500 that you can help give to whatever these people are charging to help you. My point is, if you don't do anything, and you sit and sit and sit and sit. Time goes by, and then you start reflecting and say, damn, maybe I should have tried it. You know? That's a sure way to make nothing. Sitting and waiting. That is, you will guarantee nothing's going to happen. And so like I said, you're always going to get criticism, and nothing's always going to be 100%. But one of the places we used to play at were the assisted living facilities. And I'm going to share this story with you guys so you can kind of see this comparison. So you can kind of see what might go on later on in life as you're sitting, if you happen to be in one of these places, and you stare out the window and the mind's wandering, and it makes me wonder, what are these people really thinking about? They're reflecting on their lives. And I've heard people talk, I've heard people say to me, maybe I should have given it a shot. So what if I would have failed? At least I know. Maybe something good would have come out of it. Maybe, nothing would have happened. But to not try is you'll always be wondering. And then, of course, you got to be smart about it. You can't mortgage your house out. You got 3 different mortgages, refinance, and put yourself to the poorhouse. One of the functions we went to, the festival, that had 8 big stages, top-notch gear, it got canceled. And this is what I mean by. All right, my friend, you take care, buddy. You take care. You have a good one. That's right. Yeah, Sean Murphy's got a good point. You could write a song and sell it to another artist. Example, Eddie Schwartz wrote "Hit Me With Your Best Shot," sold it to a Pat Benatar, and bought a new house. See? Yeah, there's all kind of ways. There really is. There really is. And I guess basically I would say just look at every avenue. But if a person wants to get their music out and they want to be the performer, and this is one way of doing it. And it might take a little bit longer, or I don't look at it as a bad thing. I look at it as, for us personally, it worked for us. It definitely worked for us because we have 100% control of everything. We know what's coming in. We know what's going out. There's no questioning. And there's something nice about having that type of a freedom. I think that's basically what it gives you. It gives you 100% control and freedom of what you have. So, but again, guys and gals out there, do the research and check out everybody's advice and do what really works for you the best. But what I was going to say, since I touched on the subject of festivals and in the private shows, I found it interesting that when you do a festival, there was a couple of them that we got paid good, but for the most part, you send a fee, or they'll say it's exposure and there's a tight budget. The shows that paid us absolutely the most, and La Corte Bistro is definitely one of them that's good. That's why I like to mention their names. Yeah. But the shows that really paid us the most were the private shows, the corporate gigs, the private shows, and shows like that. The shows that were open up to the public, and a lot of them were turned into festivals. We got 4 or 5 bands playing. It's a great experience, and I love it, and I don't regret it. But if I had to rely solely on that income, well, I'd be poor. I would really be poor. I'd be poor chasing a dream as opposed to making a dream happen, taking control. That's why I always say our backup plan is we take control, and whatever a person needs to do, if they need to get a side job, whether it's teaching or it's something that is outside music, I would never say to a person, no, you have to keep it all music. You have to keep it. I would never say that. Because I was teaching very heavily up in Illinois, and we would have very strong ups, but then we'd have drop-offs as well. And I know when I would hear other people saying, yep, I never have a drop-off. I've got students to say, you will have drop-offs. You might have some students that are going to stay, would you do a guitar part for a hip hop or pop artist? Yeah. You know what? If someone wants to pay me, yeah. If they say, Dave, and actually I've done this with a band called Tub Ring. I guess they were an underground independent band. I forget what label they were on. I literally recorded a 50-second solo, and they totally switched around tonal wise. But basically, I was selling them a solo, and yeah, I have done it for other artists, but they haven't really done anything, and that's how that works. But yeah, I mean, I would not be opposed to it. Now, when they hire you, you ask them what you want. If they like what you're doing, okay, and they say, well, just play it in this time frame here, yeah, absolutely. Now, you're giving them a service, so I would not be opposed to that at all. But what it's interesting, what really works out there are the private shows. And what I was going to say is that if a person does have to have a side gig to make sure you have income, absolutely don't get so headstrong, because I've had students when I was teaching, especially young kids, they'd be involved in sports, they'd be involved in dance, and let's say if there's a sporting event, then they have to drop off lessons because now they're in a tournament. So there goes that source of income. Again, students, they come and go. They go like this, they come in, they go. So I saw an article on Craigslist, and it's about how to break into the music industry, and I just read it. I'm not going to pay them to read more because I know what it is. And one thing I will strongly disagree with, when they say that the 4 myths of the music industry. Myth number 1, you have to have a job outside of the music. Well, you could try to make the music work. You could teach, and there'll always be teaching jobs, but like anything else in music, it goes up and down. It's not as steady as, let's say, a music that's a working job that's outside, where there's a solid 40-hour week, solid income, the company is strong, that's solid, and they have something that is providing a need and not a want. And the reason why I say that, it takes money to make money. That's why if you ask any successful business owner how long it took for them to be able to break away from their day job, you might be surprised how long it actually took them, because they wanted to make sure they had that solid income to support their family or just themselves, the cost of living. Now they have another expense, their business. They're trying to get that up and going, and that's the way it is. Or if they are not working full time, you can almost guarantee their spouse is working full time. So here's how you could test the proof in the pudding. Ask a person who might tell you these things, and I'm not saying anything rude or disrespectful to them, but just ask them this simple question. If you're not working, guys, okay, so what I was going to say is, ask them this. Do I have any live albums? No, not yet, but that's something I want to really work on, and really work on a really good, clean recorded, but not processed, you know what I mean? Not sit there here and, play around with stuff. Here it is as it really is, because I really believe in, here it is, you know what I mean? Catching that heat of the moment right there, and the whole excitement right there. But what I was just saying is, for a person, is ask them if they could, if let's say their spouse is working full time and they're not, to allow them the freedom to pursue, their dream and their talents. Ask them, can your spouse quit their job, and can you 100% survive? Now, they might be able to do this for a short amount of time, because we were able to do that. We were getting that much more work. It was great. But you got to also look at the big picture, the whole economy. If something were to happen in a certain area that you live in, that might bring down the state's economy. That means people won't be able to afford to go out as much. So that means the people that were to hire you, now they can't really hire you. So, there's cutbacks. You got to be prepared for those things. That's why the day gigs really do help. And again, everyone needs to do what works for them. You know, I'll never rain on somebody's parade and say, "Ha ha, you loser." I'll never say anything like that, because that's the last thing I want to see people is go through hard times, man. You know, it's tough. We're all in this together. And this is a great thing about YouTube, man. It is one of the greatest things that has ever happened for music. I really think. I really think so. So we keep getting a couple of drop-offs, my friend. So I'm going to see if I could kind of close this off with a little bit of rock and tune here. And again, I'm using the drum patterns inside the Digitech. And let's see. Let me see something here. Turn up my tempo. It'll never replace a live drummer, but it's kind of cool. All right, my friends, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate all your support. We got new subscribers. I really appreciate you guys joining in on this, and I really appreciate all you guys and gals out there. It really, really means a lot. And in the future, if you guys got any music you want me to spotlight, originals, just let me know. Very simple to do. All you gotta do is say, "Dave, check out this video." It's literally I can load it in and good to go. I'm not charging anybody anything or anything like that. I just really believe in helping each other out, you know. We got a great platform. So we'll be going live this evening at our live show. Hopefully it's not going to rain. If we're inside or outside, we'll find out, my friends. But I really appreciate all your support. That's why I always do one of these numbers here, you know. That's why you guys are part of my sponsors. You don't have to pay anything. Support from all of you. Give you a nice shout out there. One of these bad boys too. Anyways, my friends, we always desire to inspire here. That's what it's all about. And hold the doors of opportunity, help people out. Really appreciate it, keeping things real. Until this evening, my friends, rock and roll. You take care. God bless. See you tonight. Thank you so much. So long.